Welcome back to Ignite Your Impact podcast. This is Matt Rhodes, your host for today, which I know anyone who has been listening to us for a while, that sounds strange. Where's Jen? Why isn't Jen opening up the podcast? Well, Jen has had this nagging cough, and we sat down today, and she's like, I just don't feel sexy talking right now. And I laughed, and I'm like, you're sexy no matter what, but if you want to sit this one out, I'm good with that. And so she is going to sit today out, and you're going to get just me today. She'll be back next week, though. I'm sure that cough will be over, and she'll be ready to rock. Now, we did get a lot of DMs last week because we didn't have an episode then either. And just full transparency, we didn't have one because that cough was going on with Jen. And I had to travel Monday through Friday last week, so we couldn't squeeze it in. So any of you that missed that, like I said, I did get DMs, so I know that I know there were a bunch of you that were missing that episode. I'm sorry about that. But when you look back on it, we've been doing this podcast this is our 99th episode. So Jen will for sure be back for 100, but this is our 99th episode, which means we've been doing this just under 2 years. Yeah, just under 2 years. And during that 2 years, we have missed 2 to 3 weeks. And it's all about consistency. We do it every week, week in, week out, even back in the beginning when no one was listening. And I think you can relay that to your workouts and to the things that you're doing every day. You do them with consistency, things start rolling, just like this podcast. We have a shitload of listeners now, but we did in the beginning. And when you're doing a workout, it's the same way. You're not going to have results in the beginning. But that's not what we're going to talk about today, but I thought that was a good nugget to throw in. What we're going to talk about today is willpower and self-discipline. Those are two big things for anyone trying to get anything done, trying to get into that elite shape, trying to build a business. And I know that there are many of you that listen to us that are on the fringe of saying, Matt and Jen, I want to work with you and your team. Or maybe you're on the fringe of wanting to work with another coach. Or even you want to do this fitness thing on your own. Either way, it doesn't matter, but you're just right there, but you haven't pulled the trigger for a reason. The reason you haven't pulled the trigger is because you've done this fitness thing 10 times. And somewhere along the line, each time in that journey, you felt like you didn't have the willpower or the discipline, and you went off the wagon for a day or a week or a month, whatever it was. You went off the wagon and you blamed yourself. And now you're thinking, I've already failed at this thing 5 to 10 times. I just don't know if I can muster up the willpower or the self-discipline to do this again. Today, what I'm going to talk about is how you don't need self-discipline and you don't need willpower. Whether you're working with us, whether you're working with another coach, whether you're working on your own, you don't need those things. I'm going to show you how we did that with a real world example that I went through, and then I'm going to share some other ways that you can do this around your house. And the way you do this is the hack, is you change your environment ahead of time to make it easier for you. It's not about resisting something. It's about making it not an option. It's not available to you. Therefore, you don't have to have willpower. The real world example that I have, it goes back to, I told you why we didn't have a podcast last week. I was traveling Monday through Friday. And I was traveling to St. Louis for business. And anyone that knows St. Louis knows that they've got good food. They've got great Italian food. They also have a good nightlife. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of good bars to go to. So I was traveling with I would consider a larger group than I would normally travel with. We were like 5, 6, 7, 8 of us. And I was talking to another coworker. Let me go back. All of my coworkers were staying in the Clayton area. If you're not familiar with St. Louis, this is a high-end area, lots of great restaurants, all those things, nightlife, everything you can imagine that you wanted. And it is a good area. I've stayed there many times. So I'm talking to one of my coworkers. I'm like, hey, where we're all going to be working, Clayton's 30 minutes away without rush hour traffic. I'm thinking I may stay a little closer to where we're working, because we're all going to meet every day, Monday through Friday, in the central place to work that was 30 minutes away from the Clayton area without major traffic. So if you're there going in the morning or anytime around 5 o'clock, it's going to be longer. And when I told my coworker this, he just laughed at me and said, have fun staying in the suburbs with a bunch of shitty chains. He's saying chains. He's talking about places to eat. And when he said that, it was like magic to my ears. Because what that meant is if I stayed in that area, well, here's what I did. I immediately jumped online and I found a hotel very close. It was within 5 minutes of where we're going to work every day. And then I Googled to find out where the closest local gym was. And it happened to be right in that area as well. Think of a suburb. They're going to have a nice Marriott. They're going to have a nice gym. And then they're going to have all those shitty chain restaurants. And I found Texas Roadhouse, Outback, Longhorn. You can imagine, now that I'm saying this, I think everyone can imagine where I'm looking to stay. Everything was within a 5-mile radius. The place I was going to work, the place I was going to work out, the place I was going to sleep, the places I was going to eat. So here was the hack. I took anything that could derail what I was going for away. They were out of my reach. A hotel close to where I was working meant that I could wake up early in the morning. I could do my victory hour, get a full hour in. Then I could go work out. And I could do all this while everyone else was commuting that 30 minutes. Then at night, instead of going to a nice 2-hour dinner, I was able to go right down the street and eat above average, because Texas Roadhouse is above average. Outback is above average. It's not great, but it's above average. I could go eat above average food that I could order clean, the way that I wanted it cooked. And then I'm in and out of there quickly, back at my hotel, so I can go get some steps in and get a good night's sleep. Now, if you've ever traveled with a group of people, this also meant that I didn't have to be that a-hole and not eat with everyone every night, because frankly, they knew that it didn't make sense for me to commute 30 minutes to go to dinner with them. So it also made me still feel like I was being a reasonable coworker and doing those things. And I know you may be saying, Matt, that's boring as shit. Yeah, it's boring. But you got to do the boring stuff to get to the good stuff. That does tie back into the podcast week in and week out, your workouts week in and week out. Sometimes you got to do some of that boring stuff. But I stayed right on track with my goals without having to have any willpower, any self-discipline that entire week. Do you think some of you listening right now could use some of that? You have these things you want to do and these goals that you want to get after, but your willpower and your self-discipline is holding you back. Then take that out. Just take it completely out of the realm so you don't have to rely on that. You don't have to rely on being mentally tough to get something done. So if you're not traveling, what are some things that you can do around your regular life to get where you don't have to have that willpower and self-discipline? Let's talk about food. I'm going to use cookies as the example. You know, if you're a dessert person, or you're you like donuts or whatever it is that you like, that you're gonna grab, maybe not dessert, but you're something you're gonna grab at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So whatever that is, get that in your mind. Just don't buy it. So Sunday, when you do your grocery shopping, don't add the cookies to the cart. Whether you're shopping at the grocery store cart or online, just don't add the cookies or the donuts or whatever it is. Just don't even put it in there, because you are setting yourself up ahead of time so that when Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday rolls around, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and you want that sweet or that snack, it's not going to be there. Maybe you add bananas instead or something like that. It's just setting yourself up so that you don't have to have willpower not to eat that cookie. If it's your workouts, block them out in your calendar. Now, if you're the type of person who blocks out your workouts from 5:30 to 6:30 at night and you still can't get in because you always work out late, then start going at 5 a.m. If you can't get up in the morning, then pack your clothes and take them to work with you, so you have to leave work and go immediately to the gym, so you're not getting home at 9 o'clock at night. Just make it so it's not a willpower anymore. You just go from work to the gym. You don't even go home and get caught up in all the stuff that's going on at home. You go to the gym and get your workout in. If you're someone it takes too long to figure out how to put together your workouts, then hire a coach or even find something online. There's some great workouts online that you can find. But then you don't have to say, man, I don't have the workout put together. Therefore, it's going to take me forever if I put this together and then have to go to the gym. If you find yourself watching TV late at night, take the TV out of the room. If that's not possible, just grab the remote, put it on the other side of the house when you crawl into bed. Now, I know some of you may be saying, well, this stuff is super simple, or maybe even it's boring, or maybe even stupid. Maybe putting the remote on the other side is stupid, but it's not about being smart. It's not about this new fancy thing, and it's certainly not about having to test your mental toughness or your willpower. Because if you've been trying to do all these things and you haven't gotten to the result, it's obviously not working. You would have already gotten to the result if you had unbelievable willpower and self-discipline. But I don't have that. I've got it at certain times, but I don't have that 365 days a year. So I use these things to practice so that I don't have to. You find a way to take things away 2 days before they even become an issue. That's the example of when you do your grocery shopping on Sunday, you're not eating the cookies on Wednesday. You find a way to take them away before they even happen. In racing, you anticipate the turns. That's what you're doing right now, is you're anticipating the turns that are going to come up, and you just take them away and make everything a straightaway. Now, with having said all that, anyone listening, I want you to think about what's holding you back. What's that one thing that you can't overcome with willpower or self-discipline? In your homework for today was free. Cost you nothing to listen, but 12 minutes of your time, 15 minutes of your time, however long this is. So you have some homework. I want you to shoot me a DM on Instagram or Facebook, either way, and I want you to tell me what's that one or two things that you just feel like you're not mentally tough to overcome, or you don't have the willpower. It doesn't have to be about fitness. Whatever it is, shoot me a DM and tell me what it is, and let me help you come up with a way to take something away, not away from you, but away so that it never even becomes a force of willpower for you. Let me help you with that. So find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram, shoot me a message, and let me help you with that. With that, guys, Jen will be back next week. We'll talk to you next week.